Hi folks, it's Chet from Tag Along with Chet. I've had a few requests from various viewers as to the power system that I've installed in my hangar here. It's run on solar power, and I've done it on the cheap actually. It's probably cost me less than $1,500 to install what I've got here. And I'll give you a bit of a brief tour as to how I've got this all set up here. And folks, I'm no expert at this. I've never done it before, and it's sort of a hit and miss when I do things. However, it actually turned out quite well. I was originally thinking about getting power in this hangar, but unfortunately the power aspect of it runs into quite a bit of dollars. So what I've done is the door itself is run on a 24 volt system. It's run on two deep cycle 12 volt batteries and hooked up for 24 volts for the system that activates the door. The installation of electricity in my hangar would come to some, I couldn't even fathom the amount that it would cost me, because just checking where the initial hookup would be, it would probably require 2 additional poles or trench of some sort to bring the wiring in, and then probably a transformer, not to mention the $40 or $50 per month that you'd have to pay whether or not you use it or not. So I elected to go this way, and the way I look at it, it's required a bit of additional panels, more than I thought it would, but I just put an additional one in. So the total wattage that I have here is I run the door on 80 watts. It doesn't require that. It could possibly only require one of those panels, and I could hook the other one up to the main system. The additional one I purchased just recently was from Costco. It's a 100 watt panel. And then I have another 257, let's see. Yeah, I probably got, well, I'll show you when we get out there and I can calculate the wattage from there. So what we'll do is give you a tour of the hangar out here and see how I've got it all hooked up. And like I said, I'm an amateur at this, folks, so if you want to criticize, go ahead, but it's working out for me. I run my fridge on it, just a 4.4 cubic foot fridge, and I make coffee, and with my coffee percolator. Let's see what else I got. A compressor, a shop vac, and I run all my power tools on it as well. Now, mind you, I can't run them all at the same time, but it has a regulator on it, so once it gets around 11 volts in the batteries, she starts beeping away and giving me an indication that hey, you've overdone it a bit. But so far, so good. Let's take you on a tour of the hangar, and I'll show you how I've got it all set up. Okay, so what you've got here is two 40 watt panels. I picked these up from Canadian Tire. You can pick them up 2 to a box, and you're looking at about $170, $180 when they're on sale. Don't buy them when they show them advertised for $300 some odd dollars. It's not worth it. So wait till they got a sale on, and for $180 you can pick up 2 of these. They come with the little controller and everything, which you probably, if you're going to go for a bigger system, you just chuck out, because they're not worth installing. So I just buy the more expensive ones for about $60 or something like that. I'll show you those later. Anyway, these are 2 panels. This one's 40, this one's 40. Combine them, you got 80 watts of power. I just made a little, but these are 2x2s frame. I mounted them, I laid them on top of it, and I've just got it tied down with these little metal plumber's type, whatever this is called. I can't remember what this is called, but anyway, they're just metal strips, and I've got them screwed in there. Now you can make these out of metal, whatever you want. They've got aluminum angle iron, you could make it with that. However, I find that this is on the cheap, so I had the wood available, so that's why I did it. You'll also notice they're on an angle out here. So I've got maximum sunlight for the summer. And what I do in the winter is I pull all this out and I bring it forward, and then they just lay flat up against the hanger. And when they lay flat up against the hanger, it gets it when the sun is at a lower angle, especially during the winter. At this area in southern Alberta, you actually need them hanging down because the sun is way down there. So this is a south-facing hanger, or rather a south side wall of the hanger, and all these panels that I've got here are facing the south. So let's move on to the main one. Like I said, this is just for the door. Okay, so here we've got the panels for running my main power source. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 40-watt panels. So I've got a total of 5 times 4 is 200 watts. And then over here is a single 100 watt, which I just purchased and I just installed yesterday. These are all made by Coleman. I picked this one up at Canadian, I picked this up at Costco, and they had them on there for about 179 bucks. Now I didn't need all the little extras that came with it. They had a converter and the regulator and so forth that came with it, and a bunch of wiring. All I needed was the panel, and I found that this was actually a better price than what I could get it for. And since these are all compatible, this is Coleman, this is Coleman, I elected to go that route. And again, the same with these here. I can pull the legs out underneath it, and these are hinged up on the top here. There's 3 hinges holding this one on, and there's 2 hinges holding this one on out here. This still has to be painted. I made this with 2x4s actually, and then I've just got it laid in. These are laying on top, and I had to put these wire things on it so they don't get blown away from underneath. So I've got this one here. As I start making these things, I get a little bit better at it. So this one's actually sitting in a wood frame. So this is just strictly a 2x4 frame. Nothing fancy about it, folks. I bought some stud 2x4s, slapped this around, put some 2x2s underneath here, and I just laid this panel right in here. And I just got some metal straps on the tops and on the bottom out here to hold it in place. And that's about it for the power. The cords run underneath here. They go through a hole into the wall, and then they go up into the corner where I've got all the wires joined. So let's go inside and take a look at what we've got inside. Okay, now you've all seen me use this door. This is a door from Diamond in Winkler, Manitoba, is where they make them. So, and so now that we got some light on the subject out here, there is the controller that I bought. This is for 24 volts, and I purchased this at a solar outlet in Calgary. I wired it all myself. The wire actually just comes out of the solar panel, which is just around the corner, the one I showed you earlier with the 80 watts. It's just sort of a plug and play. There's a plug down here, right there, and it just snaps out. Runs up into here. I've put a protective fuse in here just in case. So you've got the input from the solar, and then the output, which runs up into the ceiling up here, and then back down the door, as you can see. And it is hooked into these batteries here, and that keeps those batteries charged up. Now the motor that runs this, I'm going to close the door again so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, we'll show you the system. So there is the 24 volt motor right here. Then you've got the gearing mechanism down in here. This turns this shaft, which pulls these wires, and there's 4 of these wires all along this bar that runs along the bottom here. And then it just lifts the bottom part of the door up, splits it in the middle, and you've got a bifold door. Very simple system actually when you think about it, but you just have to think about it. The chap that designed this from Winkler, Manitoba, he started off, I believe he was a bush pilot up there somewhere, and judging from what I've read about how he developed these doors, he was building a hangar for himself, started building his own door, and he finally came up with a perfect one, and he marketed it, and it's sold, and it's actually, I'm quite happy with it. Okay, now what we'll do is walk over to the where I've got the wiring for the main one. I'm not going to show it to you because it's actually in behind. It's in behind all this stuff out here, but there's quite a bit of wiring I've got all wrapped up behind here. But it basically runs along here with these cables here, the positive and negative. Now these here are expensive. I bought these wiring. This wiring is from the appropriate solar. Here it is again, and I've just got it laying along the side, and it's all hooked up into here. So basically it all comes in. The solar power comes into here. This again, this solar charge controller, I bought this again extra because the other ones only, I think the Coleman ones are only good for about 8.5 amps or something to that effect, so I don't use them at all. As a matter of fact, they're throwaway things as far as I'm concerned. I'll just show you what they look like. Yeah, this one is an 8.5 amp solar charge. They're not all that great. They do in a pinch, but I've got quite a few of these. Here's another one. It's a 7 amp one, and they seem to fall apart, so they're not all that great, but like I said, they'll do in a pinch, but they're very poorly made, I think. So I've got quite a few of these. As a matter of fact, I've given some of them to some buddies of mine that wanted them. In any case, just get yourself a good solar charge controller, and these are only about anywhere from not more than $60. I think I paid under 60. I think it's about maybe $40 for this one out here. So basically you have your wiring coming in. That's the red and the black, and again I put an amp, I forget how many amp fuse I put in there to protect the system, and that's the input from the solar panel. Now it'll actually shows you right on here that this is the input, and they've got the positive and the negative, and it just goes into there. Now you want to take that power that you've got from your solar panel and take it out and run it into your batteries. So here's the batteries I've got. Now these batteries are just deep cycle batteries. They aren't solar powered or solar specific. So I just bought these again at Canadian Tire. I think they were 120, 130 bucks, something like that. I believe these are marine ones, and they're I think they're called Nautica or Nautical. And I just bought 3 of them, hooked them up so that so I've got them hooked up positive to positive, negative to negative, and so forth. And then I purchased one of these. Okay, this here is a 3,000 watt digital power inverter. Okay, now usually you see these on sale for $179. I've seen them as low as $159, and I believe that's what I paid. This is the same thing as what you're looking at now. And one thing that you have to be careful of is each one of these plugs is capable of delivering 1,000 watts. Okay, so that's why they say it's 3,000 watts. It's just not one plug. You gotta have 3 different circuits. So that's what I've done, and each one of these runs separate plugs. So all of this and this was $159. I think I paid for this about a year ago. This one I think I paid $169 for, and it all runs, well, my fridge, out here. This is a 4x4 cubic foot Danby refrigerator. It runs my radio. I have a shop vac. It runs this shop vac and my compressor. That's this one here. The tools I've got, it'll run any one of these. My drill, chop saw, and my scroll saw. And then, as an added feature, I've got one of these. Now, this isn't hooked up into the main solar power. It's got its own battery. But this is a winch that I use, and it's a wireless winch. So you've got the little antenna here, and I use this when things are tough. Like say there's a bunch of snow outside or something like that, and it's difficult to pull the air or push the airplane in because you don't feel like falling flat in your rear end. Then just hook it up. I just hook it up to that, the tail tie down, and I winch it in. And I just stand out in the front of the airplane with my tow bar, and I steer it in. And in one hand I've got the tow bar, I'm just steering it. It goes very slowly. And on the other end I've got the remote for the wireless winch. Now the winch is powered by a very small solar panel, which actually I've just got sitting up in the window, and it powers or trickle charges that battery. I don't use it very often, but it's there in case I need it. The main power, like my main power solar panel, also runs my Remington 70,000 BTU heater, which I use for preheating the airplane. In the office, I have it's a little office we built in here. And you step in the office. It's got the normal light switch, just an LED light. And I've got my coffee percolator. That takes about 5 minutes, and I got a bunch of coffee. You know, it works beautifully. And of course I got all my power stuff. I can basically charge everything up. I've got a little VHF radio. And latest acquisition is I've got a microwave. And that stuff all runs off my my solar power. Now, some of you may be asking about additional lighting that I've put in as far as the hangar is concerned. I've got an external light out here, which is solar powered as well. It's right above the door, and basically when I drive in, the sensitivity level is set so that the light will go on for about a minute, I believe it is, and then obviously I've got lots of light out here. It's quite a bright light. So when I go in the hangar and I'll open up that door, if you look up here, there's another internal light, which is also a solar powered LED light, and the sensitivity area is set so that once you walk through this door, that light will go on. It will illuminate that whole area of the airplane, and it will stay on for, I believe it's 2 minutes, at which time I'll be turning on all my other lights, which are also solar powered. So that's basically the way I do it, folks. I've got the solar power in here. It's been marvelous. I haven't had to pay a cent on it. It was actually a sort of a work project for me to do something. It was actually quite enjoyable putting it all together. Quite satisfying. Anyway, that's about it for this vlog, folks. Thanks for watching, and if you wish to subscribe to my vlogs, you know where that little button is on the bottom right hand of your screen. Just click on it, and be sure to hit that little bell, and it'll let you know when I've uploaded another vlog. So thanks again for watching, folks, and we'll see you in the next time. Bye for now.